What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Unpopular, the pop culture podcast. We have an interesting episode for you today. We're just picking a movie. I know we've been all over the place. We've been trying to experiment, do different fun episodes, just kind of shooting the shit, playing games, whatever.
You can blame me for this one, to be honest.
And guess what? I am going to fucking blame you for this one, James. I don't know what we were thinking. But James decided the movie for this week, and we allowed it to happen. It might be the last time that it happens.
Not if I can help
right?
it.
Because let me tell you, this week, James decided that we all needed to watch the, what year did this movie come
1983.
out? 1983 masterpiece Krull, directed by Peter Yates and written by Stanford Sherman.
It's a good year. It's a year I was born even. It's 40 years old, dude.
Oh, it's all making sense that the year you were born, Krull came out and we were all
It's also
doomed.
Return of the Jedi. Come on.
Oh my god, and I'm just like, I've been waiting. I'm like, man, I feel really bad. I'm gonna have to break James's balls about this movie.
This caused me
really
turmoil
rough.
at home.
Oh, it caused Nick turmoil at home.
Yeah.
Krull fucked up his evening, and it's all your fault. So,
It's Krull your fault.
Krull, a brief description is about a prince and a fellowship of companions out to rescue his bride from a fortress of alien invaders who have arrived on their home planet. Okay, it is aliens. Me and Nick were talking about this earlier. I'm like, is it monsters? Is it aliens?
Yeah, aliens,
they mentioned
because
planets.
they're spaceborne.
But
and
this
shit.
whole movie is fantasy. The whole fucking thing's fantasy.
It doesn't have to make sense, dude.
The only thing that makes it sci-fi was the bad guys in spacesuits shooting lasers out of their things.
But the way they die is cool too.
I was telling Nick before you came over, I'm like, that was probably the coolest part about this movie.
Way they die,
I liked the way that they die. But anyway, Krull is a really strange movie. It's all over the place. It's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's a little bit of romance.
Genre bending, for sure.
Yeah, it's all over the place, and really, there's a lot of cool things in the movie. But let me tell you,
execution.
It's terrible execution.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just think it suffered from identity crisis and just trying to be like a new Star Wars.
You know what? It kind of suffered from the same thing as like Zardoz in a bit. Like it was really ambitious, but like, and it wasn't as ambitious as Zardoz because Zardoz is a much, I think, deeper,
a lot more pubic hair in
than
Krull.
But like it had a deeper message or whatever. Krull doesn't have those kind of pretensions.
No.
But no, it wasn't executed well. All the same.
It was just like, what a weird.
It had some cool parts. It had a lot of cool parts.
It had some cool parts. I will give it that. We have Ken Marshall as Colwyn, our main protagonist, that we're supposed to care about.
He's pretty fucking whiny.
As Liza, who is also in. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, Dracula Dead and Loving It. It's kind of like it's got. What's his name? Silver Fox.
Leslie Nielsen
as Dracula, and it's a comedy, and it's really funny.
Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah, Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Thank you. And she plays, I think, the main love interest in that movie.
I haven't seen it in so long.
I have it on DVD somewhere. Every once during October, Tori will be like, "Dust out Dracula Dead Loving It," because I mean it's got some good parts. Mel Brooks stuff is funny. We have Freddie Jones as Ynir, who was also, if I'm thinking this character is, it is. He plays Thufir Hawat in Dune, Paul's Mentat instructor in the 80s Dune movie.
Right.
Francesca Annis as Widow of the Web, who I thought was the coolest character in the whole movie. And then we have a ton of characters that they tell you they have names, but I couldn't remember a single one.
Rel the Cyclops.
Oh, Rel the Cyclops.
Ergo
awesome.
the Magician or the Magnificent.
Yeah.
Well, then there's
at least you guys were
the Emerald Seer, the blind Emerald Seer. That part we'll talk about that later. But
the Tiberium Daddy.
Yeah. He had the jewel or whatever, and it had like the swishy effects that were kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But that's our main cast, and I was looking at
Liam Neeson too. He was one of the
Liam Neeson. I forgot. Yeah, he was in it, and that was kind of cool. It's kind of weird.
He's one of the.
He's one of the horse dude, or one of the guys.
One of the bandits.
One of the bandits. Thank you.
No shit.
Yeah,
super young.
Yeah, very young.
Super young. And just the only way I recognize him, honestly, by hearing his voice at first.
Yeah, because he does. He's very. I mean, is because one of his other movies that I probably remember him seeing in my youngest was Darkman, and I think that was probably one of his. big leading roles. But before that, I think it would probably have to have been Krull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before, the writer and director, I just kind of want to, I'm looking through their IMDb to see if anything is important, and let me tell you, there isn't.
No, I didn't think there would.
One of them, it looked like Krull was the final nail in the coffin, and the other one had a list of things afterwards, but it wasn't anything like, oh, wow, that's a cool thing. So, one of my main gripes about this movie is... it had, you could tell the imagination was there.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was kind of boring, dude, because they give you a lot of characters they expect you to care about or understand.
And
like,
they make them all hateable.
And they make them all kind of hateable, or just like...
Oh, yeah.
There's not even a chance to like them because there's nothing about the characters that really makes you like them.
Well, not only that, but the main prince, I think it's Corwin or whatever the hell his name is.
Colwyn.
Yeah. What he starts off grieving like his ass off, and like he's crying and stuff. And then all of a sudden he goes off the next quest, and he's almost laughing psychotically about how he's going to get the weapon back.
He hops on horses
and just like all of a sudden it's like, whoa. Are you sure that you really want to take things the time to process things here, sir?
Right.
Like, so he kind of immediately comes off as a psychopath.
Well, it's just like, what was I gonna say about Colin? Like, he doesn't even get enough screen time, I don't think, to really like as a main character, as the main drive of our story.
You know why? Because he doesn't have enough fucking charisma to have the fucking...
It's true, dude.
He doesn't have enough charisma because he kind of sucked. But you don't... It had been maybe 15 years since I had seen this movie, and I was probably really fucking stoned.
I can
and I was like,
understand.
Man,
that.
Krull's such a good movie.
Dude, I was really stoned today, and it's
but from an elder,
Getting stoned couldn't make this movie better.
The Cyclops was cool though. Rel was pretty fucking cool.
It was so ugly, that prosthetic on his face.
When I was a
some
kid,
Jason and the Argonauts shit,
dude. I know, but that's what was cool about when you're a kid. Stuff like that, your imagination fills in the gaps. But
I just like, it was just so funny, that scene at the end where he's riding one of the fire mares. It's like a horse that goes really fast, and it's like green screened with him on this horse. It was just he's just riding to save the day. But he's basically, I was telling Nick, he's just Hodor from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He has like
takes abuse
premonitions about his death, yada yada yada, and then at the end just gets crushed holding the door open for his homies. Yeah. Well, he was holding it open, and I think Hodor was holding it closed. But
that's a weird kind of like I don't know, man. Maybe
Krull did it.
Krull did it.
Krull did do it.
That'll be the new Unpop slogan.
We're gonna have to start a conspiracy theory about how Krull is single-handedly responsible for ruining the ending of Game of Thrones.
Well, I think Krull was actually a script long before Star Wars and obviously Game of Thrones and everything else, because Krull is the real inspiration for modern cinema everywhere.
This is probably very true. I mean, it's kind of like what Jodorowsky's Dune would have been if people hadn't given it his due.
Only so many movies like Krull come around once in a life, but he was too late. They stole all of his ideas, then he still made his movie.
Once in a Krull while.
Once in a Krull, you're gonna have to try better than that.
Yeah.
But Krull. Okay. This is where I was going with this.
Wait, hold on. Right out the gate, the planet's name is Krull. That's where the name comes from.
Right. I was just calling everything Krull while watching the movie just to be a shithead. I'm like, that's the Krull, and it's the glaive or whatever. That's evil Krull, the monster. But the vibe I get from this movie, if I could mishmash a couple movies together to get a general vibe of this movie, I was telling Nick, it was kind of like Princess Bride or Game of Thrones meets Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Just not so much the sci-fi stuff of Flash Gordon, but just the way the factions are in the movie and all the different groups and the main evil build up, and he's in it. Yeah, just like the setup and everything. It felt like Flash Gordon to me.
Yeah. Kind of like a little bit. I was gonna say Masters of the Universe, kind of with that Flash like sword and sorcery type shit.
Sure.
But I mean, Yeah, I feel like Flash Gordon is kind of a little bit more fitting.
Well, the difference is Flash Gordon had years to build up a story for us to care about before they made a movie, and Krull did not. So I guess, you know what? Krull is pretty bold. Let me just say that Krull is pretty bold.
Krull.
It's bold.
It's bold, okay.
Krull.
I mean, you can give it that. It set out for, it would, like we pointed out, it's ambitious.
Yeah, it's super ambitious. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's trying to be the next Star Wars or some shit because, like, I don't know. But anyway.
It felt very reminiscent to so many other movies of the time, and it's like...
Yeah.
The Swamp remind me of either Land Before Time or
Never-Ending Story.
The
Swamp of Sadness.
Yes, exactly.
Did I ever tell you, like, I don't have an attachment to the Never-Ending Story.
We probably not get into this.
Oh, and the Spike compression room, that was like the trash compactor scene.
Okay,
yeah. Well, yeah.
I just, like, everyone has this connection with the Never-Ending Story. I never watched it as a kid, and everyone's like, oh, when the horse goes into the swamp of sadness. And I'm just laughing just because, like, I watched too many movies, so I'm just imagining this scene as an outsider.
Yeah.
And this horse is just like, dude, just pull me.
Dude.
Just fucking pull me, kid.
You have no idea.
You know? And he's like, no, you're giving up. He's like, no, just get me out of here.
You have no idea how much that shattered every kid as a child.
That emotionless look on the horse's face is just like, dude.
Yeah, look emotionless.
Get me out of here. Get me out of here. That horse doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Dude.
Did anything dark happen in The Pagemaster?
In the page. Whoa.
Where'd
that come from?
Pagemaster. We're talking about fantasy. We're talking about We're crawling out.
It's far reach, but I'll take it. I loved the Pagemaster. I liked the spooky book, obviously. I mean, he was the draw of the movie.
I've never seen, but
never seen the Pagemaster. Macaulay Culkin and Doc Brown. What's his name?
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Animated. It's got a horror part of the movie. It's cool. Watch the Pagemaster. Our next episode.
Well, it's partially animated. Isn't like the beginning of it like, okay.
Right, because he gets sucked into an animated world, and at the end it spits him back out, and he's still Macaulay Culkin. Fuck.
Krull was, I'll just put it this way, my girlfriend said, this is the worst movie you've ever made me watch, and why couldn't you guys have just done an episode on Hell Comes to Frogtown?
James's spirit right now.
No, dude, I knew. Guys.
Oh,
why?
James, he was so excited. I feel so bad because you were really excited.
No,
about
because if anything, it's my purpose to fucking put bad movies out there.
You did. This is the second worst movie you made me watch since that Neil Breen movie.
And there's more to come. You realize
and it's like, in this one. It wasn't even. I think what got it for me is that it wasn't trying to be bad. It felt really long.
Oh well, yeah. Well, it was because it was boring in a lot of parts.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's.
I will say, I do have parts in here I did enjoy, and I did write about them, and I'm like, this was cool.
So like the way the Slayers die is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Because they just, like, do, like, a weird, like, screech, and, like,
they fucking, like,
wormy shit sucks out of them or whatever.
I like that it was implied that there's, like, a parasite or, like, a detached appendage or a bug of Krull, like, operating this humanoid, alien-looking
Slayers.
Yeah. Is it really a bug of Krull, or are we just using the word?
Well, it's stated that Krull has many tools of destruction at his disposal.
Oh, wait a minute, Krull's the name of the planet.
James just went over
the
this.
Beast.
The beast. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not.
The beast.
We're gonna call everything Krull.
Everything. Now when he throws the Krull, the Krull,
it hits Krull right in the stomach. So anyway, the movie starts out and there's a prophecy, and it's talking about how. A prince is going to fall in love with a princess, and together their child is going to become the new king of the universe or some shit, right? And so we have our main protagonist, Colwyn, going to meet his lady friend, Princess... I just put Princess Babe, but I think it's like Liza.
Yeah, I think Liza.
I thought Lissa was the wed lady.
They have the same name.
Well, that's not confusing or anything.
To make this movie more confusing.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing because...
I just called her the widow or whatever, like her cool name was.
Yeah.
So, at this point, everyone knows this prophecy, I guess. And at this point, this alien monster that's on the cover, that really sells the cover of the movie, which I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this alien monster. Like, his troops come in, and they're in spacesuits, and they got lasers. They love this laser effect in this movie. They use it a lot, even if it doesn't line up properly most of the time. People are like throwing elbows and it like shows up, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? So they capture Liza, and they basically kill both of their parents, right? Colwyn's parents and Liza's parents. And I thought the one guy looked familiar, Colwyn's dad, but turns out it was not.
I thought her dad looked kind of familiar.
Okay.
He was a fucking prick.
Yeah.
I thought he was the guy from Alien 3 and Game of Thrones.
He looks very similar to that guy. Whatever his name is. We know who he is. And so Colin survives, and Ynir, who is our Obi-Wan character, basically, I mean, I don't know, that's the vibe I got from him when he first showed up.
Mentor comes out and like
he just shows up, and it's just like,
it's time for me to help out.
Now that everyone's dead, it's time for me to help
out. Basically, that's like what he says to me. It's like, it's time for me to intervene. Like, he's been living up in the mountains as a hermit for forever or whatever.
Yeah, and so Colin's got to go to the Black Fortress to rescue Liza, and Ynir's going to lead him there. But first, he's like, our first side quest, we have to get the glaive. And I guess, like, this was my first thing. It just kind of felt like, all right, we got to do this thing. We got to do this thing. We got to do this thing. It's like, when's something going to happen?
Well, this first quest was especially boring because it was just like a whole lot of score music with him climbing rocks.
Oh, yeah, but
just rocks.
A rock tumble starts, and I said I wish he would have gotten macked by one of those boulders.
One of those foam boulders.
I also put that the camera moves with Colwyn, so clearly there's a cameraman climbing the mountain next to him because it's like a shaky camera. Some shots it's really smooth and it's right behind him and it's stationary, but there's one where it's like a guy that almost went like, whoa. You know? So I'm like, oh, they don't show the guy that's climbing the mountain next to Colwyn. And I also put it's not as good as the scene from Rocky IV, where he climbs the mountain while he's training. Because I got a similar vibe from that. I'm like, okay, this is like climbing them. They're gonna show different parts of him climbing to make it seem like it was a big long adventure, but it was no thing.
Classic montage.
He shows up in this cave, and all of a sudden the glaive shows up in the water. It was really hilarious, I thought, because it was just like, well,
it was like, yeah, and like they try to make it, they frame it like it's like magma or something.
Yeah,
because it's like red.
That's what I thought. I thought it was magma.
Yeah,
and then he sticks his hand in there.
And I'm like, but it flames at first, right?
Right.
Like, there's flames are coming out. So it's like, oh, dude, that's cool. It's magma. Oh no, it's not. It's just.
I said, when the glaive shows up in water, hilarious. Don't stick your hand in there.
What does he do?
Oh, dude. And yeah, it just immediately sets on fire, but then it's not on fire when he pulls it out.
I guess it's one of those effects that was too special to show.
And it was a ninja star. This was not a hard thing. Anyone could have accomplished this. Anyone passing by that mountaintop could have stolen that ninja star at any
he would just be strolling through the whole ninja star mountain.
It felt like a reveal from,
I just happen to be here and I got this.
Yeah, Zelda, you're right.
But you found this new like special equipment.
You found a Krull. So I put I guess the Black Fortress moves. They must find the blind emerald seer. So the Black Fortress moves every, sun up?
Yep.
And it goes to a different, like, one of 5 locations or something like that, so it's super hard to
find. The Iron Desert.
Yeah, you never know where it's gonna go, so they need to find this guy that Ynir knows of, and that is the Blind Emerald Seer. And how do we know we find the Blind Emerald Seer? Because he is a blind man with a giant emerald when they do find him.
But they come across some bandits and whatnot first.
Well, first they're hanging out, and then a firework shoots into
a
pond,
this asshole.
Yeah, and it turns out it's a guy named Ergo who turns himself into a goose. He's not good at magic. Or he's our comedic relief.
And he's not very good at it.
He's not very good at it. He does turn into a tiger at the end, which was kind of cool.
He's kind of like a druid.
He looked like young, ugly
absolutely.
Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Keanu and...
Oh, you know who I was thinking? Who's that one guy? You've seen the other guys, right? Or, Tropic Thunder, the guy who directed the movie got killed in the very beginning. English dude. I forgot what the fuck his name is. Forget about it.
He died in Tropic Thunder?
Yeah. He was a director who blew himself up on the mine.
Oh, the British guy.
The British guy.
Yeah.
He reminds me of him a little bit.
He actually reminded me of the Berries and Cream.
Yeah.
From the old Starburst commercial. Because he had the
Berries and Cream.
He had the same haircut. So he's just there to help him out. I guess he's a friend of Ynir. And he just kind of shows up and then is like, I'll join you, right? Or did they not even know this guy?
I don't think they even knew this
I was
dude.
so confused.
No, I don't think that he knew anybody because he just kind of showed up and...
I'd be like, listen here, you bumbling fucking idiot. You're not joining our
party. You know
party.
why he did? Because he saw the Cyclops in the woods and he got all scared because, you know... And then he's like, oh, I'm going to go with you because I'm a pussy.
Okay, that's fair.
You know?
That's fair. So they find the blind seer with his floating green gem, who tries to help them find the fortress, but a Muppet Beast hand breaks the gem out of nowhere while he's looking through it. But it's cool. It's a cool scene because the gem floats up. It starts spinning around. We get that staticky, almost like ink pen kind of scratchy effect to it that I thought was neat. But as he's trying to see where it's at, the Beast hand shows up and crushes the gem, and that was cool. It was unexpected and like, oh.
Well, don't forget, before they get to Seer, then they recruit all the useless bandits that nobody really cares about.
Oh, the bandits that Liam Neeson's a part of?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we care about Liam Neeson, I guess.
Right. I mean, he was cool. Liam Neeson, he's Mr. Handsome. He's got a ton of wives in this movie. He's kind of a ladies' man.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like, oh, another one lives over here, blah, blah, blah. But as they set out with the bandits, they're attacked by the Slayers. More Slayers. They just randomly show up. And Tori brought up a point when we were watching this. It's like the Slayers are cool, but when they show up, there's nothing like...
They don't do anything.
They don't do anything.
No,
they're not aggressive.
They're just like...
Yeah. Kind of like the...
Goofy ass walk.
Yeah, they kind of just lumber around and shoot stuff aimlessly.
And so at that point, they're saved by our Cyclops man, Rel, who is... James thinks is a cool character.
He was awesome when I was a kid, man. Rel was awesome. He was invincible, man.
It's that Rel is one of the things in the movie that really mixes it up, and it's like, what are we going? Like, what is possible in this universe? Like monsters, aliens.
Yeah, because he was part of the lore. He had a history with the Beast and stuff like that.
Okay,
like the race and stuff like that. Because like he made a bargain with the Cyclopses that if he could take one of their eyes, he would be able to give them the ability to see the future.
Okay.
But it was only their own death.
Wow.
So that's kind of the trade-off. So they had a feud with the Beast and the Slayers and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Rel was the last of the Cyclops, I think.
All right. And Rel knows that he's going to die. He knows when he has to die, and he wants to fulfill that purpose. He knows at some point he's going to have to sacrifice himself, or he has to go to a certain point, and that's where he will die.
Yeah. It's like his self-fulfilling prophecy and whatnot.
At this point, they fall into the swamp of sadness, but they make it out. Drag.
But the seer gets killed and then replaced with a doppelganger.
Yeah,
and that results in probably the coolest scene in the movie, I think.
Yeah, because the seer wanders off, right, and he gets tricked by the Beast.
Well, in the confusion of everybody else in the quicksand, when they're sinking, he gets replaced because everybody else is doing their thing.
Oh, okay. They're linked up trying to save the guy from quicksand. They don't, and then he does the last little,
Right. And then he gets replaced, and then he leads off Krull,
You did it.
Well, that was purposeful, but what's his face? Colwyn off into a little clearing and says, "Now I'll show you the vision," and he tries to kill him, and then Cyclops boy fucking saves the day. And murks the
doesn't he just throw his lance at him?
Murks him, and then he just starts bubbling up and starts melting. Yeah, dude, it's cool. A wicked scene, man.
And at that point they saunter on, and this is one thing about this movie. I'm like, man, there's so many just landscape shots in this movie. So much of it is here's 5 minutes of landscapes. Here's another couple minutes of landscapes. It's all right, I get it.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I get it. You're on a big adventure, okay?
Especially when they get to fire mirrors. It's friggin' long
The fire mirrors
was.
were cool. It was cool, and the effects are kind of cheesy, but still, it kind of made them cool with it being cheesy. So
they're basically poniatas.
Yeah, ponytas.
Ponytas.
Say like that will get us made fun of on the internet. Certainly. some
too late.
Too late. And I'm not gonna edit it out. That sounds like work.
We dug our graves now.
And this next part is my favorite part of the movie. Anir goes off to seek the widow woman because she can help. She's the next one that can help them find the fortress. And she's got a cool fortress of her own. Mm-hmm. It's all webs, and she's just like a weird web cocoon ball in the center.
Like a egg sac.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And when he steps on the webs, because he's got to climb across them like a bridge to get to her cocoon
makes
or whatever.
Chime.
Yeah, it makes chimes and it alerts the spider. And the spider
cool.
Looks
cool, yeah.
He was cool. It's like see-through. It's kind of like I said, very Jason and the Argonauts, like claymation on top of real things. So it had a cool little vibe to it, and
it was refreshing not to see just a big black spider as we typically see.
Yeah.
And how did he escape it? Getting there.
Well,
did he just beat it there?
No,
she turned the sand.
Remember, this is where her name.
Oh, he calls out to her.
Yeah, he calls her real name, and he's
like, "Help!"
Yeah,
Lisa.
She calls her name, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'll give you time," and the time allows him the time to pass into the chasm.
Right, and so he gets in there, and I said she's got a cool spider guard. The spider lady's his ex-girlfriend. And she points out that the fortress will be at the desert at sunrise. And this was kind of a cool scene because it flashes, like, they're talking about their past romance and experiences together. And what he gives her the gift of looking young again, even if it's momentarily while she's looking in the mirror, and it starts in the mirror and then it's
because it's how he perceives her.
Yeah,
because of his ability to see her that way, she appreciates that and she gives him something in return.
Right, and that's the first of a couple things in this movie that has the power of love.
Yes, yeah. I forgot about the flame,
power of love.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as good as Back to the Future. Honestly, I don't care for Back to the Future all that much. I think it's all right, but I'm not one of those.
I'm not like a hard
hype on it. Yeah, it's good, but yeah, it is what it is. So she breaks her hourglass and gives him the sand inside of it, and that will protect him from the spider on the way out. Right?
But
only on the way out.
Only on the way out. But the thing is, like, sand, you're always going to lose it because, it can only carry a handful of sand for so long. Once the sand runs out, his time also runs out.
She should have put it in a Ziploc bag. That would have solved all of the problems. He would still be alive.
She didn't have any, like, apothecary bottles laying
around.
No,
not even, like, a little satchel, piece of leather fabric.
Back in my day when we were desperate, we made paper envelopes, okay? Like, you did what you had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets out of there, and the spider doesn't chase after him. But, let's see. So Anir makes it back to the group. But
he's able to disclose the location,
right.
But he subsequently dies because he runs out of sand. And so they find out that the castle or the fortress is in
X amount of leagues away. They say, right? I'm like, why are you saying leagues?
I don't know if
it's not underwater, right? Like
I
leagues is for underwater.
I don't know if back then that they would consider. I don't think they would consider leagues. I don't know. Maybe on Krull they do.
Who knows? One Krull league is a mile.
How long is a Krullometer?
There you go.
I feel like it's just like in sci-fi when they use like, this many clicks out because it's tactical and military.
What's the famous Star Wars quote that doesn't make sense?
Parsecs.
Parsecs. He's like, it can go this many parsecs and whatever. It's like parsecs is a measure of time or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Distance in time or whatever.
It doesn't really...
We're not scientists. We'd all love to be.
Maybe it would for Interstellar. I don't know. We're not going to try to rack our brains about it, but it doesn't make sense. In any case, he tells them that it's in the Iron Desert,
right?
And the only way that they can get that they're that fast is through the fire mirrors.
Right.
Thanks to our man Rel to tell us.
Yeah, Rel, he helped out.
Rel comes through.
So I put these jackknobs try to capture these horses because they try. There's a scene it's like, whoa, they're trying to capture the horses. They're getting dragged around.
Yeah.
And
it went on a little bit too long.
Too long, and then it was continued with more landscape shots where I'm like, come on, man. And I put that, you can swap out the music, which is all very like whimsical 80s fantasy music. You could replace it with the Shining music, and it would be pretty funny, I think. Just like at the beginning of the movie where it's like,
yeah.
So they get to the Black Fortress. Eventually, they use the fire mirrors, which I think was my second favorite part of the movie because they're cool. They leave a little trail of fire. They got fire effects under their hooves and stuff. So that was cool, and just the way they shot it, of them green screen running over places, it did get kind of funny and corny when they cross that big chasm and the fire mirrors leap into the air and just fly across the gap, and it's like never-ending story, like yeah.
So they're reindeer now.
Yeah, exactly. They eventually make it to the Black Fortress, and I put it looks like the crag from Guts because it's all perfectly cut stones and everything, and
styrofoam stones.
Yep, and they're getting attacked as they're trying to enter by the guards that are just in like sliding rock doors, and they think all is lost, and they eventually make it inside, and then Rel shows up to save the day because he stayed behind.
Rel was supposed to stay behind, but then he caught up, and one of the doors that opened up that the Slayers was at, he killed him and held the door open.
He held the door open
for everybody else to get in, but subsequently, as it's closing,
we see you, George R.R. Martin. We know what you did. I've complained enough about you stealing Dune. Now you're stealing Krull? That's pathetic.
Leave Krull alone!
Pathetic. Krull did it.
Krull did it.
And so he eventually, they don't even try to help him. They just like let him get
dude, yeah. It's like, I feel like they could have done a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, because he's like, it's not going to happen. And any time they could have been like, hey, and they pulled him in, but they're like,
but I feel like he didn't really do all that much because everybody was through too. I felt
he gave up. He knew what was.
Yeah, I feel like he just kind of ultimately gave up.
One guy, Liam Neeson, with the axe, tried to like prop it open, but in a really bad way.
Yeah, I think you're right because I watched that scene. I'm like, is he trying to prop the door?
Yeah, it's like he was just like putting like the. I don't know. He was putting it in the most awkward way ever.
That wouldn't hold something open.
That was a cool looking axe, though.
It was
very extra.
He was trying to let people think that he was trying to save him, so he can be like, "I tried to save him.
I just
saw it, right?"
He just didn't want to fuck up his axe because, like,
look, I'm saving you.
It was just a cut above the mall ninja weapon grade,
right?
He didn't want to fuck it up.
So they finally get deeper into the fortress, and Colwyn finally gets to use the glaive that he got at the beginning of this 2-hour movie. That the glaive, I don't think, was brought up again until this point, right?
One guy says only use. That might have been when he got it. He's like, only use it when you really.
Yeah, that was when he first got it, though.
Yeah, and that's the excuse not to use it through the whole movie.
But they didn't even bring it up. What is so important about the glaive? It's on the cover of the box. Me and Nick, before even watching this movie, were like, oh, it's the movie with the ninja star on it, right? Like, that's.
Apparently, it was like the deadliest friggin'. I don't know, man.
It did not feel important at all, but it was like, oh, you had to get this fucking thing.
It was pretty OG. It was pretty OP though, because it killed the Slayers and.
Well, first he cuts open the cell that the princess is in.
Which took 2 hours to cut through that.
Yeah, that was way too long.
But that, again, feels like the lightsaber through the door, except that's quick and cool.
So then it kills all the Slayers, and then does he throw it and it gets inside the Krull?
It gets inside the Krull.
Not the Krull, the beast.
It gets
the
in
beast,
the
yes. But the beast, I was waiting for this point the whole movie because I'm like, this is the guy on the cover.
We don't really even see him.
Dude, no, they don't. They fucking tease you the whole movie with this guy with little glimpses of him here and there. And then he dies. He dies the first time. So unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm.
With the unceremonious glaive. And so they move on. And he looks cool. He looks cool, and I wanted him to do cool things because he seemed like he could be cool because he could speak and he was intelligent, and I don't know. He was kind of neat looking.
I think he looked way cooler when we just saw him in close-ups.
Glimpses.
It was implied that, like, I thought the whole Black Fortress
was
the Beast.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
It kind of made
me
you think
like it was a bioorganic palace.
deep.
Yeah, because there's parts where she's in the cell and it looks like she's in a claw.
Yeah.
Like a folded up claw and stuff. Right. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of parts in this movie where it seems like they wanted to go in those kinds of directions, but it's like they didn't really know how to really wrap it up.
Well, I felt like they should have had more, like, with the little pieces that we got throughout this movie of what the princess was doing at the castle with the beast. We needed more of that. We needed longer scenes. We needed something a little bit more to see what's happening on the other side.
So what you're saying is that Krull should have been broken up over 3 movies?
Yes. It would have been 6 VHS tapes. It would have been an epic.
The complete Krullogy.
Oh,
God.
dude.
So, but it turns out that the Beast is not dead because as Colwyn gets the princess and they're trying to escape, he shows up again. And okay, James, you're going to have to explain this to me because I'm pretty sure what I watched was that the Beast shows up and then Colwyn uses the power of love to blast fire out of his hands.
Because the Beast starts shooting fireballs at him, and she's like, give me your hand, take the fire. So he takes it, and he just starts shooting fireballs, dude. He could just shoot fireballs with the power of love.
Oh, my God. Oh, and I was like, turns out true love can block alien monster blasts and make you shoot fire out of your hand. So he didn't. The glaive is not even important.
No, man,
the
it really...
power of love is still more important than the glaive.
The glaive still isn't really... It's...
Take the glaive. Okay, I say we get a petition started to redo all of the VHS and DVD cover arts of Krull so that it has a flaming power of love hand instead of the glaive so we don't confuse people. We need to go back and get every copy that everyone has and change
Maybe
it around.
He's just holding the glaive behind his back. But
I feel like the glaive doesn't even really need to be necessary.
That's what I'm saying. It's not important, but they put it all over the fucking place like it's the main point of the movie.
But it's the stained glass in their castle in the main window.
I figured he would be using it throughout the whole fucking movie. You know,
I don't really understand but the glaive does so much up to a point. Like when he does use it, like it breaks her out of the cell, it fucks the Beast up to a point.
It's a key item.
Yeah,
he can't use it, but only at that one point where he can.
Yeah, it's kind of at a loss as to why they would even have that thing.
Seriously,
it
that's
doesn't
what
really
I'm
make
saying.
any sense.
And there was a couple things like that in this movie that you could have just taken out and made it go more smooth or not trick people thinking what the movie is. But so after they defeat the Beast, they escape, and they basically have a Breakfast Club ending to this movie where they're all just walking with their backs to the camera and then the credits start rolling. You know, it's like, well, we crawled. We came, we saw, we crawled. And then the credits start rolling.
I think at this point in the movie, it was wrapping up and I was probably dozing off.
Well, I almost dozed off twice during watching this just because it was like, it was really
Krull has a lot of lulls.
It does have a lot of lulls.
More like lull.
Lull. Yeah. It does have a lot of...
So, that's Krull. It was certainly an interesting movie. James is banned for a long time. No, James is going to convince me to watch something else ridiculous and us talk
God
about
help me, I will make you guys suffer far worse.
So, we think... Okay,
how many glaives do you rate it?
Are we... I would rather give it flaming power of love hands. But we'll give it glaives. We'll trick people into thinking that's what the movie's about.
That's what they did.
I think we should all give it different things.
Okay, sure.
How many Cyclops eyes? There's only one.
I give it 2 out of 5 burning power of love hands. 2, solid 2. No decimal points. We can do halves, that's fine, but a solid 2.
I'll give it a 2.5 Krulls.
2.5 Krull. What picture am I going to use for that when I'm editing it? Am I going to do everything?
It'll just be the poster.
You ruined the whole episode, James. All right, 2.5 Krulls. Nick, what do you give it?
I give it either, I think being the most generous, because it was super creative. It was just poorly executed.
There
and
were
boring,
cool things
and
in
they
the
could have
movie.
done way more. I give it, at best, 1 Krull glaive.
Oh, 1 Krull. Oh, that's
Nick
harsh.
is the pessimist today. What a rare treat for me in this episode.
That is rare for Nick to be that, like, just adverse.
Harsh on a movie that's so corny. Like, normally he's the positive Patty.
He is.
It is like, no, it was fun, you guys. Come on. Like, wow, I'm really surprised because I was telling Nick before you got here, I was like, man, I really hope that you didn't watch this movie so that when we sit down and record this episode, I could be like, Nick, be honest with me. Did you watch this movie? And when he said no, I would go, good, because you were going to be the only saving grace for James tonight on my pessimistic attitude because...
Dude,
I was fully
the cats
expecting...
were upset after this movie ended.
I fully believe it, and okay.
Shame on you. But you know what? I bet you there's people in our subscribers, which we're at 35 now. The big 35. Thanks for hopping on and watching us. That I bet you there's someone in that 35 that fucking loves this movie.
Yeah.
There is people out there that love this movie because I've heard people talk about this movie and talk up this movie. I just never watched it.
It's got its own cult thing, you know. It's,
right.
Yeah.
So there is people out there that really enjoy this movie, and I'm sorry if we hurt your feelings in this week's episode.
And I love trash.
And Nick loves trash. I love trash. And it's like, you know, this was like...
Well, tell you what, next time we'll put up Big Meat Eater.
Oh, Big Meat Eater. That's a good one. That's another bad movie.
That would be a
good watch.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
Keep
and
an eye
I
out for
feel
that
like
one.
has Nick watched it?
No, Nick would love Big Meat Eater. I think the
Big
only thing holding Nick back for Big Meat Eater is that it's mostly a musical.
Yeah, but that's still that's passable.
But there's like
different.
Kraftwerk songs in it. Where
Okay,
like,
I'm
in.
you know,
fuck
like
it, I'm
some
in.
of them, one of them.
Yeah, I think that he'll pass.
James, the best thing about you requesting for us to do Krull was because this is a movie I've put off my whole life.
Seriously?
It's been suggested to me, and I've seen the cover so many times. I'm like, I'm not ready for that. It looks too bad for even me.
Yeah.
And this got me to see it once, and I get it.
At least I can get you to jump that.
I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah, got it out of your system.
I think at the time,
catharsis.
If I was in the a teenager in the 80s, I probably would have enjoyed this movie much more. But honestly, I don't know because the age range. I think what kind of target audience are we shooting for?
Like I said, man, like when I was a kid, I was maybe 12, 13, watching on a Sci-Fi Channel, I think.
Okay.
And like when you watch something like that, seeing the way the Slayers died, and stuff like that, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
It's like it's different. It's really weird. It's.
I thought there would be more space.
Yeah, but it's.
I wish there was an automaton. It doesn't have to be a cool robot, but I mean, there's a Cyclops, there's like a space creature and aliens. I kind of figured there'd be some clunky old, like wind up mechanical.
But that's
man.
the thing. To me,
that would have been cooler.
When I saw the movie as a kid, I saw it more as like a fantasy movie.
Yeah, it is, but the thing is, it tricks you.
Yeah,
because the cover is space.
It's very spacey
with the glaive,
and there's
everything.
An alien. It's a spaceborne monster,
Yeah, got tricked. Yeah. I got.
We got Krulled.
We done got Krulled.
James Krulled one over.
I Krulled all of you.
The cream of the Krull. But anyway, that's all we got for you guys this week's episode. If you're any of our new subscribers, thanks so much for joining us on this ride and listening to us. Even if you're just watching our shorts, we got a lot of good traction on our shorts videos. If you guys haven't seen those yet, go check them out. It'll literally take you 2 minutes to watch all the shorts that I've posted, just about, because they're 30 seconds long. I try to keep them short and sweet, and it's just about all the cool shit I find at the comic book shop. I found a couple funny things this last week, but you'll have to watch the shorts to find out.
Just watch the fucking shorts.
Like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Signing off, Larry Downs.
James Seeloff. Take care.
Nick Aylock, Jock Haskin.
Krull.
Krull.
Krull.